All right, well, my battery died, but I'll make this a part two. So, when you dissect the human body, you feel all these things within you. You know what I'm saying? And we look at everything outside of us, and sometimes we see, a lot of us are searching for knowledge, but we're searching for knowledge. And what we keep saying, conscious people say, oh, this is only an illusion, but yet this is where you look only for the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? The point of this is to combine the science with the spirituality. Is what you know out here, you learn it, but then when you're combining it with spirituality, you don't hold on to that. You let it go, and then a new flood of information comes in spiritually. Because don't forget, whatever you're feeding yourself, you're feeding different bodies, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm having a conversation with my brother-in-law, and I have to check myself, because I can have a really good conversation with him where I can talk for 4 or 5 hours with this dude. Literally the other night I was talking to him for 4 or 5 hours, but because the conversation was nourishing, and we were exchanging valuable information. But sometimes I have to check myself, because sometimes, you know what I mean, it'll get to a point where when your ego comes in, it's kind of like you start to want to show off what you know and get one up on what he just told you. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we're very conscious of that, and that's why we can drag a conversation for so long. You know what I mean? Like, if I talk to my own mom, I can't talk to her for more than 20-30 minutes, because she starts to talk about things that actually drain me, unfortunately. She starts to talk about things that are, things that drain you. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get into that conversation now, but I'm sure you people know what I'm talking about. But we get into really, really deep topics, things that actually light me up to tie certain things that I have already learned. And this is how, a lot of the times we look for this information within us, but we still got to realize that the people outside of us out here are a projection of what's inside of us anyway. So that's why I say we are all still spirit guides. You know what I'm saying? Because I can learn from everybody. I'll take everybody serious, and I'll listen. Sometimes we got to go back to basics. This is why when I started to mention to a certain group of people that, they're way beyond, the whole food thing and whatnot, and I start to mention, certain foods and why certain things are beneficial for you, and, how the organs, and they said, no, the mind is all, they kind of discarded that. But now it's starting to come back. Why? Because now it's all about us strengthening our immune system. But the way to mostly strengthen your immune system is basically controlling your emotions, such as fear. Because when you're in fear, that shuts down your immune system. You ever notice you have fighters? You know what I mean? When you're a fighter, man, your immune system should... Look, Dr. Bruce Lipton said something that was actually very, very phenomenal. He said, if you're being chased by a lion, your immune system shuts down and all the blood goes to your limbs for fight or flight. You know what I'm saying? And basically that makes a lot of sense, because you're going to fight or flight, all the blood goes in there. When you're a fighter, this is why an effective coach is actually beneficial. Because the fighter is fighting, and he's using his body, but he's also running on instincts. You know what I'm saying? When he's fighting. And sometimes certain mistakes he may not be seen, and the coach can see it. The coach knows the fighter as much as the fighter knows himself when he's not actually in the ring fighting. You get what I'm saying? When you're under an adrenaline, I mean, you get you're literally running on instinct sometimes. I've seen these fighters, they're bleeding, and all of a sudden, they're just swinging, but they're just running on instincts. And sometimes when you fight, man, I don't know, because see, a fighter can actually attest to what I'm saying right now. But you learn certain motor skills, certain combinations just come by, reflex. It's just an instinct. You know what I'm saying? Like these fighters, when you see like Conor McGregor just shadow boxing, or he's got one of those dummies that actually return the hit, it's like a wheel. I mean, you could see how his combination is like a motor skill already. It's like an automatic thing already. It just became an automatic thing for him, like it's part of his autonomic nervous system now. You know what I'm saying? And we have all these systems that we could use to that advantage for that reason. You know what I'm saying? Now, I also want to cover the passion part, because when I talk about passion, you see, this is why even making love, right, is done with passion. But passion not in a lustful way. Passion the same way as if you were doing gardening with passion. You know what I'm saying? Because you see, you're bringing life into this world through a sperm, all right? And the crazy thing here is that when you're doing gardening, man, see, that's a ritual in and of itself. See, a lot of people just think that ritual is basically just being in a dark room with your candles on and all that. No, when you're out in the garden, you're still doing a ritual, and you're bringing life into existence. with your intent, because you conditioned the soil. You're the alchemist. You became the scientist and the priest at the same time. All right. And this is why when you come out here and you do things with love, the plants will actually feel that, because you could look up videos on anybody who gardens. See, the plants feel your love. These are things that are fact. They're not something that's just, this is combining spirituality with science. Now, the reason I say your body was never meant to be dissected is because you can actually go inside your body and look at all these systems within you. But these are things that need to be taught as a child. You know, you go into elementary school, you learn about the elements. That's where you start to learn how to grow your own food. You see, here's the thing. Now, the supplement industry is the same way, even with herbs and all that. See, Dr. Ali Malbay and all that, they sell these herbs, but they sell them in a pill form. They were processed, but they weren't made by you. How much better is it when these herbs are actually made by you? You can actually go and grow these things yourself. It don't matter if it's elderberry, echinacea, all these things that people look for to strengthen their immune system. You can go and literally take these things yourself. But a lot of people only trust in doctors. They only trust in the government. And if you look at the dollar bill, it says, "In God we trust." See, these people became your God because those are the only people you trust. When in actuality, you're supposed to be just gathering the information here and then going within yourself, and that becomes gnosis, experience. But here's the thing though. These doctors are licensed practitioners. They have a license to practice medicine on you, and they have a license to practice chemicals on you. They actually make the pharmaceutical industry richer, but they're also making themselves richer, because the more medicines they can prescribe to you, they also make money out of that. It's literally like being drug dealers, man. Okay? And when you have you know, the supplement industry ain't no fucking better. The supplement industry does the same shit. See, the same way that I actually was trying to do research to find earthworms, and I realized how I can attract earthworms myself by literally just doing my own fucking alchemy in the soil, then is the same way that these herbs, you don't need to go buy them. You can grow them in abundance in your own yard. You know what I'm saying? And that only requires a little bit of knowledge about the herbs. There's herbs that are good for your testosterone. There's herbs that are good for your prostate, like saw palmetto. All these things you can grow in your own fucking yard, man. And it all takes a little bit of practice, a little bit of time. And this is generational wealth that you pass down to your child. You have a food forest, and you could pass that down to your child, where he's actually now able to grow his own food, you know, get his own shit, become self-sufficient. Because here's the thing though, a lot of conscious people, they go and want to buy spirulina, chlorella, all these herbs, but in actuality, a lot of these herbs that are outside in your own yard, that a lot of people put Roundup and Monsanto shit, which now Monsanto's are owned by Bayer from what I heard, but all these herbs are outside for you already, for you to consume and put you in the perfect state of being. Not only that, but the fact that they're growing in your property, okay, because I have orgonite also, so I, you know, condition the soil. I also have the, you know, the organized to actually, because they also, listen, Brother Panic and Dr. Ali Malbay also mentioned organite, how to get these 5G radiations under control. You know what I mean? A lot of these things you could do yourself. You become more self-sufficient that way. You know what I'm saying? A little bit of knowledge as the universe. When you go to the university, they should be teaching you about how the universe works, about astrology, astrological positions. So when you do have a child, and it's not, you see, this is the thing, you're taught to find the right girl and then get the right job and all that. And excuse me. And you know, they find the right girl. But see, the thing is that it's not about finding the right girl. It's about perfecting yourself, or empowering yourself and becoming knowing yourself, what you really are, and you attract the right partner in that way. And then from there, you both, with intent, can have a child, you know, planning out a child. People say, I'm planning a child, but they plan a child just saying, no, let's just have sex and plan a child. But planning a child really comes down to knowing astrology, knowing the positions, the certain astrological signs, and you know, when you want the child to be born. So you plan out when you want the child to be born and what kind of spirit you want to be brought in here. That's another ritual in and of itself. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the times also, you got to pay attention to the certain mind state that you're in, because if you're having a partner and you're having sex with them, you're bringing a spirit into this world, you're attracting a spirit based on the mindset that you're in. And then when you're, let's say if you happen to, you know, have an awakening of an awakening, I say, you know, for the sake of conversation, but whatever is going on now and what you see outside of you, if you're not content with what's going on and you come to an awakening, is not to come into a victim mode. You know what I'm saying? It's to actually, take responsibility for what you see outside of you and say, yeah, I was at a certain mind state when this happened, and that's why I see my world this way. And it's the same thing with the government. The government is really you. You know what I'm saying? So whatever you think the government's lying to us, they're hiding this from us. They did this. Listen, we give them too much credit, I believe. We give them too much credit for even saying that they created a man-made virus. You know what I'm saying? I still feel like whatever is out there as, we call the coronavirus, I feel that this is actually an ancient frequency. You know what I'm saying? That has been around, and because it happens every year. So we have SARS SARS, we had the swine flu. What's the difference between this one and any other ones that we've had? You know what I'm saying? It's the same shit. Every once so often we get a flu season and a certain type of virus arrives, because we already know that viruses mutate. But so does humans. Humans mutate and become immune to certain diseases because you become immune to these viruses because you mutate as well. Same way viruses change, human changes too. Man changes. So you have to have faith and trust in your organic computer, because this is an organic computer that you are using. And you have to have faith in it. See, here's the thing. You're God. But the thing is, your body is also God. And the reason I say that is because people talk about your body's your temple and God works through your vessel and whatnot. But think about this though. If you have your body, you're not pumping blood through your veins, on purpose. I mean, you could definitely control that through breath and through certain, techniques, meditation and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that none of these things you're doing yourself. You're not pumping your heart. Your heart's pumping on its own. You know what I mean? All these systems are doing the work for you. It's just that you're always getting in its way because you're trying to play God. You know what I mean? When you have to it's just like, look at the way the law of attraction works, right? When you want something to come into existence, you have to already be at the state of, in your mind, you literally have to experience it as if it already was. But when you start to try to think about the process as to how it's going to happen, now you're doing something that doesn't belong to you. You know what I'm saying? And you're affecting what you're trying to manifest here, because at the end of the day, all you need to do is put yourself in the position that it's already done, and it is done. So it is done. And then you have to just trust the process that is going to happen to you through means that you may not have ever even thought was going to happen. So it's the same way with your body. You see, all you have to do is have trust in your body that your body's going to do what it needs to do, and that's it. But people want to take supplements, do all these crazy things, and at the end of the day, all you have to do is trust in your vessel the same exact way. Know that it's going to be good, and it's going to fight off whatever virus or frequency that it's going to be coming its way. Your body's strong enough to do it. But if you don't trust in your body, you're going to start taking these herbs, you're going to start believing that these viruses can affect you, and they will, because that's just the same way of you affecting the process when you have your job is not to be in charge of any of the processes. See, if you're God, you believe you're God, but the only way you believe you're God is if you believe your body will do what it needs to do, because you know it is already done. You know that if you're trying to manifest something here into existence, it's just going to be without you thinking of the process. You're going to know that the process will just happen, and you'll be placed in the perfect positions, meeting the perfect people for that to actually come into fruition. It's the same thing with your body. So your body is basically the same way. It's actually God. It's working for you. The universe is working for you, but you don't realize that. You want to take control of the process. Now you have to understand this. There's things that do help you, and things that, for example, can nourish your body on a cellular level, such as these herbs. But my suggestion to you is to really, this is being in tune with nature, is learning about these herbs, learning about these things that are actually, because you come from the earth, you come from the soil. So these things are you. So why would they not work with you? Why would they not work for you? But we taking food that has all these drugs and these chemicals in it that actually affects the body's natural chemistry. Now, we talk about junk DNA. That's not junk DNA. That's dormant DNA. And it's dormant Because every time that we eat certain foods, it's genetically modifying you from the inside out. Plus, your body's not designed to eat shit that's not natural. All right? What it's doing is actually going to start eating off itself. You ever hear of gene expressions based on how you're eating and based on how your cells repair everything, your body, how it repairs is based on how you're eating. You know what I'm saying? But the same way as physical eating is the same way what you're listening to, because you could heal yourself with the senses. Like I mentioned before, color therapy, binaural beats, there's certain frequencies that can help you, but there's frequencies that can hurt you. You know what I'm saying? But it's just to be mindful, because here's the thing though. You see, a lot of people don't realize that you can get high from just eating an apple. You know what I'm saying? But you can't fathom that, because the thing is, we're so drunk and high off stimulants such as Coca-Cola, coffee, supplements, all these crazy things that you don't realize the type of high that a simple apple can give you. You know what I'm saying? See, I eat eggs, and if I eat them raw, straight from the farm, where the chickens literally laid these eggs, like let's say yesterday, and I go and I eat these eggs, man, you get a rush that you would not believe. This rush is very unique. It's a fucking life force rush. So when we start talking about these people in power with the adrenochrome and all that, you know what I'm saying? Think about this. When you do Shi Bambu, which is urine therapy, and your body's purified, and you do certain things to actually stimulate certain elixirs within you, think about this. You do hydrotherapy. So shout out Fire Drake on this. If you do hot and cold, you're actually stimulating certain chemicals within your body, where if you put yourself under extreme conditions, your body releases certain chemicals. The same way when you have adrenaline rushes, okay, and this is why they call adrenochrome. Supposedly they take these kids, kidnap them, and they take the blood from these kids when they're at their highest peak of terror, and then they suck the blood out of these kids. You know what I'm saying? But think about this though. When you go into extreme conditions, okay, you actually release certain chemicals, and then you drink your urine, man, that shit will open you up. That shit will motherfucking open you up. And I didn't know this until I heard this from Fire Drake. So this is what I'm saying. There's certain things we pick up from each other, and then you put them into practice. So it's certain things that's how it works. When you grow these herbs and you pull them from the ground where they're grown for, you know how I know that you're not even hurting these plants? Because the more you prune these plants, the more they grow. It's kind of like my pepper plants. If I don't take those peppers out, they're not going to produce any more fruit. They slow the production down, because they say, okay, well, we don't need to produce no more. So it's just like your body. You take the path of least resistance, so it doesn't require so much energy to produce fruit, because it takes the plant energy to produce fruit. And the sun is the generator. So when you take these fruits or these herbs and you prune them, they will grow more vigorously for you. It's like the same thing with the cannabis plant. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to produce more for you. But when you cut them freshly from the ground, you feel the life force from these actual weeds, not from a pill where they were processed and they've been there for I don't know how long. They got an expiration date of I don't know how long, because they put silica or certain ingredients in there to keep it fresh. If you pull a weed from the ground, tomorrow it ain't going to be the same color. It's going to look brown or yellow. You get what I'm saying? So you're not really consuming the same shit when you take it in pill form or in... You see, this is the thing. Everything is marketing. Everything is fucking profit. This is why science and spirituality should have never been separated. Why do you think... See, this is what we call doctors nowadays. Shamans, okay? They give you a combination of plants to take, and you go on a trip. But before you take that trip, they tell you that you need to not have sex for a while, meditate, and you need to fast for a certain period of time. Why? Because what you've eaten comes with baggage, and you might have a bad trip because you're facing yourself. And a lot of people don't realize that. So they'll go into a trip, get scared, and whatever they're scared of is literally going to consume them. You get what I'm saying? So that's why when you grow these herbs, you grow them, and you grew them yourself, but you grew them with love, right? With the intention of becoming one with the plant as well. It's the same way when you work in the garden as well. Like, let me give you an example, man. When I'm pruning my plants, see, I did research on how to prune plants, but there came a moment in time where I stopped doing that, and literally I went, because you go into a flow state, okay? You go into a meditative state. When you like to do something, you go into a flow state, and when you're in that flow state, you literally become the object. So if I'm pruning my plants, this is how I know I became the plant. There was a moment where I just started looking under the plant, and I said, you know what, let me see. And I started to prune where I could see light coming through at the bottom of where I'm at. And this is what we need to start doing, is pruning the shit that ain't serving us, so we get the light to come through to hit us to the bottom. We call the bottom chakras. You know what I mean? Up is down, down is up, however you want to look at it. All I know is the sun. We do sun gazing. For you to get the maximum benefits of sun gazing with intent, you need to start cutting certain things out of you that don't work for you. They're actually blocking the light from coming in. All right? And this is how you could start to, because I look at the plants, and these plants literally are me when I'm doing the gardening. Most of the time, there's been happenings. You know what I'm saying? Where the vines were hugging me. And here's the thing. A lot of people were like, well, there's the vines hugging you. But you know what I mean? It had to be under an influence, because the vine really can't hug you. It would take a long time for the vines to move. But what happened is I felt that sun beaming on my head, and then I felt that cool breeze. And all that together is one happening that influenced those vines to hug me. You hear what I'm saying? And that's basically how I experienced it. You know what I mean? And I felt it, that the vines were hugging me. You know what I mean? And it's not about, oh, the beauty of, no, man. It's just about knowing that you're in harmony with something that you're doing. You get what I'm saying? Because a lot of the times we hear certain shit, and it's really all coming from ego anyway. When you want to sound cool and, you know what I mean, all that crazy shit. But the world will look like however you want to perceive it to be. Like the government. You can't change what the government's doing, man. You're never going to change what the government's doing. So what do? You change your perception on what's going on. And if enough people do that, that shit they're doing could not even exist. Because we're not giving it energy. Why do you think the media pumps this virus so much? Because they want you to pay attention, not forget about the virus. They want you to pay it, but they want you to fear it. That's the key. When in my world, man, that's an ancient frequency that's ready to hit us. But they're keeping us from doing it. And whatever you see in Hollywood and all this shit, I feel like it's just, if you look at it from the big picture, it's just a big ass distraction to keep you from what's real. What's really blanketing the planet. And it's that internet. The World Wide Web. That's what's blanketing the planet. That 5G. You can't stop it, but you got to make yourself strong enough to be able to withstand it. See, because your body can pretty much acclimate and accustom to anything under any conditions. The key here is to not lose faith in yourself, in your mind either. And lose your mind when you need to, but lose it under your terms. Not lose it by something else or somebody else losing it for you. Because once that happens, that means somebody took over your mind. So you go into a meditative state when you do things, but then you go into meditation. So you go into a meditative state when you do things you like to do. Now, when I talk about the human body, why do you think Egyptians suck the brain through the nose? How come now they do autopsies, they crack your skull open, and who knows what happens during these autopsies? They take all these organs out, you know what I mean? What's really valuable is within you, and you think it's all about the dollar. Nothing wrong with that, you know what I'm saying? But there's a lot more going on. This shit is a lot deeper than what is perceived to be. Everything and everybody you hear, even though they have good intentions, it's still a marketing. They're still looking to make a profit. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm making that disclaimer. There's nothing fucking wrong with that. But understand, being really self-sufficient is really knowing how to use the elixirs within you. And literally what you learned out here in elementary school, which is what I'm doing in my garden. And then that can tie into what you're going to learn in the university. And sometimes a lot of these conscious people aren't even ready to listen to certain levels of information, and that's why they don't get it. And they actually feel, this is why it's important to really accept all different levels. You know what I'm saying? And then what happens is that you can actually empower yourself a lot more efficiently, and you can help the people. See, everybody in your space outside of you is literally you. And the more you can empower the people that you're around, you're empowering yourself.